It's a profound yet entertaining exploration of spirituality, religion, and what it means to take a leap of faith.
I wanted you to come to listen to my silence.
His silence itself is a teaching.
What is true? What is false? Does it even matter?
Only one rule, love.
It's a lot of fun.
We have been created by scientists coming from another planet.
What if it's true?
Directed by Yoav Shamir, here is The Prophet and the Space Aliens.
You speak English?
A little.
A little. You are the bodyguard?
Yes.
Yes. And you specialize karate or what?
Pardon?
You are karate artist or
No karate.
normal bodyguard?
And don't use violence.
You don't use.
Yes. We don't.
Yeah.
Always feminine.
This is a spring in Okinawa, can you believe? Mid-January, the spring starts in Okinawa. This one is for you.
When I talk to him, like, what should I call him?
I will call him Rael or Maitreya or my prophet, or it depends on how I feel. Yes.
And
Yeah.
for me, what would be like, I don't want to be disrespectful.
Oh, you can call him Rael. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
So be careful what you say. Everything is recorded. Yes. So we will take the stairs. I don't know if you want to film me from behind or from downstairs when I go down.
We do both. So right now, Rael is the only prophet on earth?
From what I understand, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Action.
Considering the amount of people we are now, he's probably the most successful prophet after just 40 years of practice, you know?
How many followers?
We're probably reaching 100,000 now. Pretty close, yeah.
We are from dust. The Elohim come on earth and take a handful of sand, where you have everything to make a human being, if you have the technology, and create synthetically, artificially life. And that's what we are. We are infinity taking consciousness of itself.
What is like a practicing Raelian?
No costume, no rule, only one rule, love. And non-violence, absolute non-violence. But except that, people are free. Just for you, I just will do a short meditation and stop talking. Not for you and for me. And for all, what is, for me and for you and for...
The entire human race.
Yes, for you and for me and the entire human race. Merci, Color.
What he's saying is actually an explanation of what all the other prophets have been trying to, convey. And they were killed for that, most of them. Yeah. He's not killed. He's criticized. I mean, the killing of the prophet today is done through media. and trying to discredit, So that's a new way to do it. It's better than the lions or being on a cross, It's still alive.
A French cult leader known as Raël was questioned today by members of the U.S. Congress as they grapple with the moral and ethical issues surrounding human cloning. Raël believes humans were created from the DNA of aliens. According to the Raëlian scriptures, human cloning is the only way to achieve eternal life. The controversial cult leader has been invited to testify because of his claims that he has the technology to clone a human being.
I'm very, very pleased to announce that the first baby clone is born.
מנכ"לית חברת קלונייד העידה אתמול בבית משפט בפלורידה שהתינוקת המשובטת הראשונה בעולם, איב, חווה, אכן נמצאת בישראל.
Most people have heard about Raël because of the media blitz that followed the cloning announcement. But I didn't set out to find the cloned baby. My Raëlian affair started very differently. This is me, a documentary filmmaker from Israel. I'd never heard about Raël until I received a mysterious invitation. For your controversial viewpoint of Israeli policies in your various documentaries, Raël has awarded you the title of an honorary guide of the Raëlian movement. This is an honor bestowed only upon a select few. They told me that previous recipients of the award include people such as Madonna, Hugh Hefner, Jimmy Carter, Michelle Houellebecq, and other people whose actions or politics were in line with Raël's point of view. Obviously, I was very flattered to be in such company.
So, Yoav, I would love you to come with me, and I would be very Yoav for me.
Later I found out that I was the only one who showed up to receive the award. I want to declare myself as Raëlian friendly. I don't know if there's a category like this, but I'm proud to be one.
You have now 1.5 billion Christians on earth. There was only one Jew named Jesus at the beginning. and that starts only with one person, always. You have 1 billion Buddhists start with Buddha. So its beginning is little, but doesn't need to have an army at the beginning. Just somebody who's thinking and teaching is right. So everything is going well.
I'm very happy we came.
I'm very happy. I'm so thrilled to meet you. I hope we will meet more.
I hope so.
Maybe you are in a big plan to help me succeed. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you are born for that. You never know.
No.
But I feel you feel something. May I also give you a hug to the camera woman? I love you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. You later.
I grew up in a place that has been messed up by religious conflicts for thousands of years. And the last thing I thought the world needed is another religion. I could say that when the invitation came to visit Raël at his home, I wanted to use the opportunity to explore the big questions of faith and religion, belief and disillusion. But the truth is, more than anything, my curiosity got the best of me.
Good morning!
Good morning.
How are you? I wrote a synopsis to make a movie. Everything, a scenario and synopsis, it's ready. I would love George Lucas for the special effect. Not something cheap, with little European plastic. Really something between Star Wars and the Bible and the Ten Commandments. So it's a kind of wow, if not better than that.
That can be a very big
I dream. Huh?
That can be a very big boost for the IM.
Of course, because instead of going in every country and speaking for 1,000 people in one room, suddenly it's everywhere. So my dream, because it I can retire after that.
And what will you do then?
Same as now.
We love you.
No. Really?
No.
Honto desu ka? Beautiful. La la la. Every Sunday, you come to listen to my word. Today, I wanted you to come to listen to my silence. Silence is the most important thing.
You wrote a lot about Jesus and the time of early Christianity. If you had a chance to make a documentary about a prophet, a new rising prophet, what would you ask him? What would you want to know?
The first thing I'd be interested in knowing is what he means by prophet. Is he claiming to have actual messages that were dictated by God? Or perhaps claiming to have made trips to heaven and gotten information from angels? Is he claiming to be able to see the future? I think maybe I need something more concrete. What are you talking about? Who are you talking about? I don't live in a world in which every Monday and Thursday somebody is claiming to be a prophet. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean.
We are one. We are one. With infinity. We are one. We are one. With eternity. We are one with the sky. We are one with the stars. We are one with the stars. We are one with the ocean. We are one with the ocean. And every animal. We are one with lotus. We are one with James. And with Tadao. And with Komiko. We are one with infinity. We are one with eternity. Allez, chante, chante.
You know I'm not religious.
Yes.
And now I'm making this film about a guy that started a religion. I'm not sure how to approach it.
all textbooks about religion will start with Jews believe this and this and this, and Muslims believe this and this and this. I probably would not be interested in theology. What do you believe would be probably the least interesting thing to me. So I'd be much more interested in practices. I'd be much more interested in seeing how these people live their lives.
Do you aim here? A little less strong. Was too strong. Yes. Yes. That's my best pétanque partner for now.
Rael's entourage consists of Sophie, a ballet dancer who Rael married when she was 16. Takaide, a Japanese follower who bought Rael the beautiful house he's living in.
You can stay full day, you follow the sun, and it's like a dream.
Hani, Rael's assistant. Color, the philosopher.
Who are you? Who are you? You are.
The newest member in Rael's entourage is Lotus, a 26-year-old Chinese musician.
Even if he talks nothing, his silence itself is a teaching. Even you just looking at his eyes, you feel light, love, warmth.
Wow!
You trust me?
I trust you. Of course I trust you. Of course. You gave them the point. That's exactly what I say we must not do.
Sorry.
The answer to the big question, why am I alive? What is the meaning of life? Like the wonderful movie of the Monty Python. I love the meaning of life. Why are we alive? This is the question many people ask me. Why am I alive? To be happy.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Vous êtes israélien? Oui. Oui. Expliquez-moi, qu'est-ce que c'est les Raéliens?
Qu'est-ce qu'un Raélien? Ben, il y a eu tellement de prophètes qui sont venus sur terre, et le dernier prophète s'appelle Raël. Et un prophète, il a un disciple. Il a un disciple, et nous sommes les disciples du prophète.
C'est un prophète comme lui?
C'est un prophète comme lui.
Oui, prophète. Oui, oui. Si tu es prêt... Attends, on va renvoyer le son sur la salle. Maîtria, s'il te plaît, faut nous parler pour qu'on règle le son.
Ça marche, le son est là?
Oui.
C'est très important, car notre message est un message d'amour. Comment être heureux? Alors là, je vais vous faire plaisir, les Africains. Il faut être comme les Africains.
Rael is the only prophet who encouraged Africans to go back to their old tradition, to their old religions. Have you ever heard a Catholic priest tell the Catholics to go back to their traditional religion? They actually tell them that this is the devil, but he tells us to go back to our roots, to go back to our traditional religion, to go back to find who we were and to reconnect to that.
C'est exactement ce qui est arrivé. Il y a eu la catastrophe blanche qui a colonisé toute la planète.
These African people, beautiful people, they had a culture before the colonization, and they had religions, beautiful religions, connected to nature, connected to the sky. And the colonizer came and forced them with guns to become Christian.
Raël, oh.
Toutes les religions occidentales ont piétiné les Noirs. On a dit qu'on est des primitifs. Ils nous ont colonisés, ils nous ont esclavagisés, ils nous ont toujours piétinés. Et le Noir arabien dit, levez-vous, Zadou. Mais c'est ça qui est la vérité. La religion arabienne nous élève.
Pourquoi c'est le bonheur, le réalisme? C'est la responsabilité, c'est la conscience, et puis c'est l'amour.
Mon petit
L'amour.
Tu veux savoir ce que ça signifie? Oui. Ça, violet, homosexuel. Ah, rose, homosexuel. Rouge, plusieurs partenaires.
Violet, ça veut dire qu'on est
l'homme.
ensemble, et on est aussi avec les femmes.
Les petits rubans, c'est pour permettre aux gens de pouvoir exprimer leur sexualité, leur sensualité, sans avoir à ouvrir la bouche. Moi, personnellement, j'aime les filles. Je suis hétérosexuel. Je vais voir une fille, je parle, on va dire, on se connaît pas. Je viens négocier aujourd'hui 2 jours, 3 jours pour que ça puisse bien aller. Et après, la fille me dit non, désolé, moi, c'est d'autres filles que je veux. Je l'ai perdu 3 jours, alors que nous avons 2 semaines à faire ici. Donc, pour gagner du temps, si je la vois avec un ruban violet, ça veut dire que, bon, c'est pas pour moi. Je continue.
Rouge.
Le vert.
Multi partenaire.
Un seul partenaire. Voilà.
Et toi?
Moi, non, pour moi, c'est dedans, j'ai pas pris. Sinon, pour moi, c'est le blanc.
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 Pas de partenaire.
Parce que?
Il veut pas.
Il veut pas, tout simplement.
Liberty.
Voilà. C'est comme ça.
Some people are talking about us like the sex cult because we recommend that sexuality is important and that you should follow your rhythm. And if you're homosexual, that's fine, it's part of you. If you want to have lots of partners and you have consenting partners, it's great. You shouldn't feel any guilt about that. And so they transform that kind of statement into they do orgies, they are like obsessed by sex and things like that, which is not the case. Who are in favor of everything that is possible, depending on what you feel like doing, and it always with respect of your partners.
Burkina Faso, home of the biggest Israeli community in Africa, is predominantly Muslim. Female genital mutilation, although illegal, is still common practice.
Silamɛya t'a fɛ jinɛya ka caya kojugu. Ni muso kɛnɛ na, a bɛ dɔɔnin bɔ a ka cɛya fɛngɛ la. Adamadenya a malola. Adamaden kan ka kɛ jogo ɲumatigi le, parce que ale ni fɛn ninnu si ma kan. Ale ka ko bɛɛ kan ka kɛ ni sɛbɛ le. Mais olu ka taa bila komi wulu, komi faliw. U ka to ka yɛlɛ ɲɔgɔn kan ka yaala ten. O tuma an ti wele fɛ, wele kama an b'a fɛ adamadenw ka ɲɛma lɔ. Ayiwa ka taama Ala ye min fɔ, ka taama a ka kiraw ye min fɔ, ka taama silamɛya ye min fɔ.
Les gens pensent que nous parlons plus de sexe. Nous parlons plus de liberté. Regardez, avant là, si tu veux parler sexe, c'est un sujet tabou. C'était tabou. On ne pouvait pas parler de sexe. Mais maintenant là, à cause des Raéliens, on parle de sexe sans problème. On parle de l'excision sans problème. Faut pas exciser, faut pas exciser. Si on ne dit pas aux gens, si on ne dit pas, arrêtez l'excision. Comment tu peux dire de ne pas faire l'excision si tu ne parles pas de sexe? ya yɔrɔ la musokɔrɔba dɔw bɛ yen minnu tun bɛ musodenw sigi nɛgɛ kɔrɔ olu fana ka ca donc an n'u sigira ka miiri ne ko n ko bon n ko ne ye dɛmɛbagaw sɔrɔ tubabu lo minnu bɛ fɛ ka na dɔgɔtɔrɔso nin lɔ an ye et puis dɔgɔtɔrɔw bɛ fɛ ka na o bɛna baara nin kɛ gansan ka d'an ma.
I didn't know there was an excision. And I went to Africa to promote the movement, to speak, to give seminars. And some African women tell me about it. And I say, what? I had no idea it existed. And then I say, that's terrible. And some member of the Rallian movement say, I have no clitoris. I was excited when I was a little girl. Wow.
J'avais des douleurs. Je me demandais pourquoi. Mais depuis que je me suis fait restaurer, j'ai compris. Le clitoris, il est long. Et donc, l'exciseuse, elle coupe seulement la petite partie là. Les 2 cm qui sont dehors. Et le reste est tapissé dedans. Et la réparation consiste à enlever la partie cicatrisée et à tirer un tout petit peu sur le clitoris, coudre tout autour et laisser. Une fois guéri, la peau vient recouvrir et ça devient très sensible. 1 semaine, 2 semaines après, le sang commence à respirer dedans. Ça fait... Et tu sens ça. Brusquement, brusquement, je sens quelque chose, ça pique comme ça. Pique. Et puis, c'est très sensible. C'est très, très sensible. Tu es là, tu es en train de travailler, tu es en train de parler ou bien tu es en train de manger. Et brusquement, ça te pique et c'est très bon. C'est très bon. Tu as une sensation nette. Pique. Ça te pique comme ça. Et tu dis, mon clitoris. Et puis tu lui donnes de l'amour. Je t'aime.
I said, we must do something. Create a hospital where for free we will operate, make the surgery for repairing the clitoris and to make this affordable for the African women.
That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Hey, shall we give money to the clit box for my orgasm? That's a good idea. I think so. Everybody deserves some pleasure.
The clit box, that was the fundraising, you know. When you had an orgasm, you would put the money inside the clit box. And so it would promote pleasure, you know. And each time you thought of, of having pleasure or just had pleasure, then you have to think of somebody who can't have it yet. And with the surgery, of course, they'll be able to have it. You know, whether it was in Italy or in Australia or in South America, Japan, Korea, I mean, everybody pitched in. So yes, it was it was popular.
Please help us to help the victims of female genital mutilation.
Thank you. Love you. Love you.
Toutes les machines sont là, prêtes pour l'opération. Tout est prêt. L'anesthésie, le matériel pour l'opération, tout ce qui concerne les lumières. Ça fait 7 ans que nous sommes en train de construire et aujourd'hui c'est prêt.
Suturing is helping to elevate the clitoris and fix it into place. Vos clitoris est beau.
Merci.
Beau, 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 okay?
To be Raelian means that our whole purpose and function as a human being is to be happy. That's why we were made, to be happy. And pleasure is just a feeling that you have. And sexual pleasure in particular has been taken away from these women for no particular reason, and it's just an injustice to women.
I love you. Merci, prophète. Merci à vous. Merci.
Do you think the way new religions today are established is significantly different than the way they were formed in the past?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I think it's probably always going to be the same kind of a powerful leader comes and attracts people. I can't see what other way that would be.
And what about all the cultish elements, like the worshipping, the fact that they're giving him 10% of their income?
Well, okay, first of all, I wouldn't use the term cults. I think cult is a misuse of language. For me, as for scholars, cult means avodat bet hamikdash, that's cult. And I don't like distinctions between cults and religions. It's like dialects and languages, where the definition of a language is a dialect with an army. So as we use the term cult, it's kind of denigrating.
Comme il a fallu que vous aimiez les hommes pour être les meilleurs d'entre eux, parmi vos éternels.
And this word sect, when people refer to you as being part of a sect, does it bother you?
No. Christians, they were a sect. Probably the Jews were a sect. What is a sect? A small amount of people, and it becomes a religion when it's a big amount of people and when it's recognized by everybody. It's way more fun to be part of a cult or a sect, if it's the case, than being part of a recognized religion. It's a lot of fun. We feel we are changing the world.
Okay.
We should have played more balls. It's not fair. It's not fair to play only one ball. No, if we cannot play all the ball, we leave. Translate. If we don't play all our ball, we leave. Not fair. Say not fair. Say not fair. How do you say not fair? Let's go. Let's go. We were created by human beings coming from space, named the Elohim. And Elohim means those who came from sky and pure. So I'm happy to explain to
So
you.
what brings you guys here to Japan?
I live here.
You live here?
Yes.
So what's the
And these
camera
people
crew
are all the members. This is a camera crew from Israel.
Really?
To make a movie about me.
Wow.
I'm the leader of this organization.
Really?
My name is Israel.
Israel.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
And read my book. You have pamphlet. Yes, you can read everything here.
Can I share something with you as well?
Very happy.
Thank you so much. Share this with you. I don't have
We
any
exchange.
English. We answered here in the beginning. Talked about our Heavenly Father.
Yes, yes.
And
Elohim.
here you can know for
You read?
yourself.
I read. Okay.
Thank you so much.
promise me you will read my book, my paper? You promise me? You will read? And if you read, I read.
One specific promise.
Which one? That I will read the special page?
Read this.
Oui.
Beginning. This first paragraph.
I will read all.
But then I want you to do something. You pray.
No, we don't pray.
Will you pray?
No.
You won't pray?
We don't pray. We meditate. It's different, but it's kind of prayer. We meditate for peace in the world, which is very important. And peace and love taught me the God. All the war in the world are made by people who believe in God. The Jews, the Muslims are killing each other. The Christians kill so many people. God is creating violence on earth.
It's okay. Have a wonderful time.
You too.
Pleasure to meet you.
And peace and love before all. That's
Thank you.
more important than anything.
Yeah. Thank you for. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Mormon. they are not lucky today. They couldn't find somebody worse than me.
Let's say I would make a documentary about Jesus when he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
What scenes do you think you would have not wanted me to film? What would be like if you were like his advisor? what parts would you suggest that like should be left out?
It's an interesting question. I mean, it's a very interesting question. It raises so many methodological or theoretical questions to start with. I'm not one who thinks that we know a lot about the historical Jesus. How can I imagine what the secrets are that's a little bit of a character whom I only know through literature, right? So everything is there, right there on the surface. The texts tell us what they want us to know. So the authors certainly wanted us to know everything that is in the Gospels.
Good morning, morning.
Rael's given name is Claude Varillon. With no father in the picture, he was raised by 3 women: his mother, grandmother, and his aunt. They lived in a small French town called Ambert, a very Catholic place, famous for manufacturing prayer beads.
I was very weak and tiny, so I was always bullied by other children at school. And in every sport, I was the worst. One day, I was about 9 years old, they organized a kind of a go-kart racing. And I win. For the first time in my child life, suddenly I am better than others in one sport. And that was it. Immediately I said, okay, I want to be a race car driver. I reached puberty, where you start to look at girls, and I was shy, weak, and they were always looking at other boys, strong, handsome. And then I bought a guitar, and I was able, hiding behind my guitar, to sing in front of girls. And they love it. I tried to go to some singing contest, and I won.
Sacré sale gueule que je ne trimballe depuis bientôt 20 ans. Sacré sale gueule qui va si mal à 5 mois du printemps.
When I was 16 years old, I left my family with my guitar like that, no money, just $4 in my pocket, and went to Paris to become a singer. And like that. So when I do that, I feel 16 years old again.
Sacré sale gueule qui va si mal à 5 mois du printemps.
Rael played on the streets of Paris for a few years, until a music scout discovered him. He then became Claude Célèbre.
My songs were on the radio, and I was not famous, but a little bit. I could make a living with that for a few years.
At age 25, newlywed, Rael realized he would not be the next Jacques Brel. So it was time to fulfill his childhood dream of becoming a race car driver.
So I said, okay, I will make a race car magazine. In a few months, became the #1 race car magazine in France. It was called Autopop. why I became journalist is because I had no money and I wanted to raise. In exchange for some advertising in my magazine, I said to some company, you give me a race car and I put free advertising for you in exchange. It worked exactly like I planned. Audi gave me a car for a full season. My first race in Albi, south of France, pole position. My dream. And then came the Elohim.
Il y a quelque temps, j'ai reçu une lettre qui me racontait des choses qui peut-être vous paraîtront étranges. Le garçon qui parle s'appelle Claude Vorillon.
Ça s'est passé d'une façon assez bizarre. Enfin, comme vous le savez, j'ai vu, en me promenant à pied, j'ai vu quelque chose qui brillait dans le ciel. J'ai d'abord cru un hélicoptère, mais un hélicoptère, ça fait quand même beaucoup de bruit. Et puis, une trappe s'est ouverte sous l'appareil, un escalier s'est déplié, et des jambes sont apparues. J'ai d'abord vu des jambes apparaître, et là, j'ai commencé à avoir vraiment très peur. Et...
A trapdoor opened below, unfolding into a staircase. What at first Claude thought was a child stepped down and walked straight towards him. At a loss what to do, Claude acted as a true journalist and asked,
Parlez-vous français? Heidman, parlez-vous français? Nous parlons toutes les langues du monde. Qu'êtes-vous venu?
From very far away. And I have come to talk to you, Claude Vorillon.
Claude Vorillon, 27 ans, journaliste, père de 2 enfants, dans une revue d'automobile en France. Et Rally qui lui demande, mais enfin, comment savez-vous ça me concernant? Nous savons tout sur vous, même avant votre naissance.
Claude was invited into the craft, and over the next 6 consecutive days, the extraterrestrial dictated a series of messages which were both clear and revolutionary.
We created humanity. We were the ones who started all the religions on Earth. And now that humanity is capable of understanding this, we would like you to build an embassy where we can land officially in front of everyone.
But I thought, okay, nobody will believe. And 1 week later, when I am back to my home, I received thousands of letters. I mean, the postman was carrying bags, you know, of people saying, we want to help you. I rent a big conference room in Paris, Salle Pleyel, the most famous Paris theater, and I go to speak. There is a queue outside of 2,000 people waiting to listen to me.
Il a parlé avec une telle simplicité que même les grands acteurs, quand on leur demande d'être simples, ne le sont pas à ce point. On sentait, comment on pourrait dire, c'est bête ce que j'ai dit, mais ça me vient comme ça, on aurait presque dit une fleur qui parlait. Il était naturel.
Rael self-published his first book about his meeting with extraterrestrials. He called it The Book That Tells the Truth.
Alors, the village where I was living is called La Nègrerie.
Tout au début, on était une centaine, avec des tentes. On campait sauvagement. Imaginez un peu l'enthousiasme de tous ces gens de tout âge.
Ça partait facilement. C'était vraiment très beau.
We appeared at that time, yes, like hippie, because peace and love.
C'était une vie intense. C'est des gens qui se découvrent pour la première fois, qui se plaisent, qui vont aller faire l'amour, parce qu'ils se connaissent. C'est une liberté saine.
Please tell me what that sign means that he's got on him.
Infinity in space.
It's the Star of David
the
and
Star
the
of
Nazi
David, yeah.
sign.
That sign was used by Hitler eventually, but the swastika is an old symbol of the Elohim that we can find throughout many.
But who picked that symbol?
They
Claude did?
No,
You did?
no. That's the
Elohim
symbol.
people did.
That's the symbol that was on a vessel and on the man's suit.
After that, he moved to this southwest part of France that you have just mentioned. And there, one day, there was another encounter.
Another encounter.
How did that come about?
So he felt the same urge to go to a certain place, and then it happened again.
How long does this one last?
Well, this one lasted a day, actually, because Claude, they took him to their planet.
We are very satisfied with you, and with everything you have done for the past 2 years. It is now time to pass on to the next stage, since you have proven to us that we can trust you.
Et il va au paradis. Le paradis.
There were birds with multicolored plumage and pink and blue squirrels with the heads of bear cubs climbing in the branches of trees.
I was constantly thinking, am I dreaming? It's too much.
In Africa, we like what can make laugh. Yes. Right. What can make laugh? Funny stories.
We
liked it.
One of the robots came towards me, and with the help of a small device similar to a syringe, pricked my forehead so lightly that I hardly felt it. An entity was formed before my eyes. As the skin covered the flesh, I saw another me take shape.
On a fait 2 Raël. Un Raël, 2 de sa copie. Ah!
On demande à la machine, on veut Alima, tu as quel âge?
J'ai 25 ans.
25 ans. Alima, 25 ans, tac, 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 tac. Ok. On voit les os, on voit les nerfs, on voit la peau, et puis voilà, Alima se lève, Alima sort.
Wow.
C'est Alima tout, mais dedans là, il n'y a rien.
It's essential, I would say, in the writing philosophy, because it's part of scripture, that one day we'll be able to clothe ourselves and download our personality and become eternal that way. We don't promise eternity like other religions apart from scientific eternity that we can reach.
In my first message, I told you of a residence located on our planet where people from Earth can continue to live thanks to the scientific secret of eternity that is based on a single cell. Among those people are Jesus, Moses, Elijah, and so on.
Would you like some female companions? Asked the robot. Come, you can make your own choice.
Passer la nuit, si c'est pas avec 5 femmes, oh, c'est quelque chose de fabuleux, mais disons que c'est pas donné à tout le monde. Il n'y a que lui, et je n'ai pas de doute. Pour moi, c'est vrai. C'est vrai.
My father is one of the Elohim.
So you were born from the relationship with Elohim?
Between one of the Elohim, Yahweh, and my mother.
So it's the same like Jesus?
He's my brother. We have the same father, half brother.
Why, if you were the Elohim, would you go to the south of France, all right, a second-rate journalist,
right,
producing a magazine for car drivers, and give him a mission, all right, a non-educated man, and
Right.
give him a mission?
Yes.
Why?
Why 2,000 years before, you go in Palestine and you talk to a little man who was Jesus? It's the same
But
plan.
Jesus is the Son of God, the second person of the Blessed Trinity.
That's your interpretation.
Who became man out of his own will.
Yes,
That's your
but
interpretation.
There is not God, only extraterrestrial beings.
You know I'm not religious, but even I somehow find it easier to accept the stories of Moses, Jesus, Muhammad than those of Rael. Why is that?
The beliefs of someone are compelling because they are traditional. This is what my mother believed. This is what my grandfather believed. Then someone comes and says, no, there are new things to believe that demands that I ratchet up the focus on my own beliefs in a kind of critical way, right? It becomes a call on me to take my own so-called belief more seriously, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So it's easier to believe in Kriyas Yamsuf than to believe that little green spacemen came and talked to Rael.
Paix sur la terre, paix sur la terre, paix dans ma vie, paix dans ma vie.
Nous sommes les anges de Raël. Et les anges de Raël, c'est un ordre que les Elohim ont demandé à Raël de mettre en place. Et surtout, se former pour les accueillir quand ils vont arriver. Parce qu'ils vont arriver.
We select the most beautiful Raelian girls to be the one who welcome with flowers, the welcome they deserve.
Physical beauty is an important criterion because we, the Elohim, though we have an infinite love for all human beings, whatever their appearance, we prefer to be surrounded by individuals of great beauty, corresponding to the absolutely perfect original models of the different races that we had once created on Earth.
Les anges de Raël sont reconnus par les plumes qu'elles porteront à leur cou. Donc nous avons plusieurs couleurs de plumes, les plumes blanches et les plumes roses.
Some angels choose to be white. That means that they have their relationship like everyone and with whoever they want, and they can have a boyfriend, normal sexual life. Some women, they choose to be only exclusive for the prophets and the Elohim. But, this is only our wish.
I think many nuns become nuns knowing that they probably will never see Jesus. But they hope that maybe when they die, as they believe, if they go to heaven, they might see him there. And since all nuns, I guess, are Jesus' wife, then they will all meet him there. So if the pink feather angels were oppressed and unhappy, and the Elohim come, it doesn't really matter because the Elohim wouldn't want to be around people who are unhappy and depressed. It's the opposite. It's the complete opposite. They're refining themselves to be the best version of themselves. And then, if the Elohim comes and then they want their company, then they can be of service.
Et c'est le prophète qui décide. C'est ce qui est très important. Chaque année, nous envoyons des photos. Tu as pris trop de poids, il te donne des conseils pour que tu puisses te raffiner davantage. Il faut être comme une plume.
The last prophet saying, I want to have mainly women around me, and they will be my assistants, and they will be my the women close to me, and they will be the one at the embassy. That was controversial within the movement, at least. After that, when it spread outside, even more, because they were the sex slaves or things like that.
Yeah, because that's what people were saying, that Rael invented this thing to have sex with women.
Right, but what is the problem in having sex with women? It's like, you have. Our movement is in favor of freedom of sexuality. Okay, if Rael wants to have sexuality with women who are willing to have sexuality with him, what is the problem?
When they join the order, they know about that. It's not, a surprise, I may sleep with Rael. They know. My girlfriend was an angel once. She left. No one No one tried to keep her inside of the order, and she came back and she was welcome. So to me, it's just another way to grow. Just another way to grow.
I traveled to Raelian communities and got to know many of the inner circle, like Michio, the mathematics professor from Japan. Or Dr. Brigitte Bossilier, who has 2 PhDs in chemistry and was a senior scientist before she became Raelian and launched the cloning initiative.
Can you imagine UFO arriving like this, and you're there? It's exactly the same size.
Daniel Turcotte, the planetary executive of the Embassy Project, a successful businessman. Dr. Phyllis Hattie, a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard, studying stem cells. I had to admit, there was something comforting in the idea that we're not alone. That among the infinite number of stars and galaxies, there are some friendly aliens that love us, and that one day we will meet them. But this celestial story had to be protected. There was always someone from the inner circle with us. It was almost as if his followers were afraid that Rael would say something he shouldn't be saying, or that I would ask uncomfortable questions.
Is there anybody here who never had a hug with me? Hey, come here. I did before. Some people are cheating. Only those who never had a hug with me. Okay, please. Never?
It's so beautiful and very good.
Allez, quickly. Yes. So you have already some questions ready?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Always in Hebrew. So you don't.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the book again. Huh?
Yeah, you like it?
I love.
Great.
You're welcome.
If you need some ingredients, we can send it to you.
It's good. You give me a book about cooking. I will give you, next time I try to give you a book about fasting to lose weight. Sorry.
You're always surrounded with people, I think, that admire you. Or
yes.
admire the message, admire you. I mean, it's like...
Yes, the message, yes.
But it's hard to separate because eventually you are the message.
Well, in a state of admiration and respect and love, yes.
Who do you consult, or who do you talk to, or who you get advice if you want to be in a position where you don't ask, someone who's also an admirer, a follower, but you just want, okay, I want an honest opinion. Who do you go to?
Elohim.
And how do you do that?
Just reading the message, meditation, and that recenter me perfectly.
And there are people that you will talk to or that you have a chance to discuss things which are not Raelians, that have an outsider look? You have someone like that in your surrounding?
No. Not really, no. And I don't wish to.
Because maybe someone from the outside, they have different understanding, different perception.
Yes, but I don't see the point. What for?
not sure exactly when it started to bug me, but I reached a point where I found the happiness surrounding me disturbing. I couldn't help thinking that the award I was given was a trick, and that Rael had managed to manipulate me more than I was willing to admit.
I find myself almost like I really want to kind of like make him confess that like this encounter with the extraterrestrial, didn't happen, that he was not taken to his planet. I have this kind of like deep kind of like will to discredit his story. Yeah, well, is that wrong? It's not interesting. That's not interesting. I mean, it would be interesting if he were leading his people to commit mass suicide or to murder people or to do. It's possible to discredit almost everything that anybody thinks about anything. Truth or falsity is such a philosophically problematic notion. One of the reasons that I became religious, because I wasn't when I was young, I was standing in the train station in New York, and there's a kind of a platform above, and then there's this very big ulam, and I saw people running here and running there and running here and running there. I said, why are they running here and running there and running here? Somebody who's here needs to be there, someone here wants to go. It doesn't make any sense to me. So why are we all running to go from one place to another? And then when I felt that I had commitment, when I transformed my life and I became religious, and somehow I felt, okay, now I know why I'm running this way. But it wasn't because I had a cognitive answer to that question. It was because I had a coherent way of running. Because I found people who were running in the same direction.
I'm on my way to Amber. Can you please tell me the name of the street you were living in?
I was living on the 13th of Rue Blaise Pascal.
Who should we speak with over there?
Nobody. Nobody and everybody. I don't have any personal friend in this city.
You're probably the most famous person to come out of there.
Yes, but I doubt that the people, for now, will say positive things about me,
Rael demonstrated true prophetic skills. Predicting that the people of Amber wouldn't have positive things to say about him was an understatement. Nobody was willing to be interviewed. One of Rael's neighbors told us that after the cloning initiative became public, he was interviewed for a local TV program in which he said that Rael told him he had invented his encounter with the aliens. Rael sued him and won the case. We didn't manage to find Rael's ex-wife. At her last known address, we found out that she had moved to the Netherlands and changed her last name. In Clermont-Ferrand, the last place Rael lived before he became a prophet, we had more luck.
I remember the place where he had his magazine, Autopop. Usually I went to see him in his office to see what he's doing, because I was interested in racing cars, and I wanted to know before the magazine was published what he was doing. En 1973, il y a eu la crise du pétrole qui a interdit les courses de voitures.
Les courses automobiles et les rallyes seront, jusqu'à nouvel ordre, suspendus.
Quand Autopop s'est arrêté, c'est que forcément, il avait besoin de travailler et de gagner de l'argent pour vivre. Jusqu'au jour où on a dîné un soir avec Franck Messier et lui, et où, en fait, les extraterrestres étaient déjà là. Parce que dans le peu de temps qu'il y avait avant, je dirais les mois qu'il y avait avant, il y a eu beaucoup d'articles dans les journaux locaux de gens qui, à la campagne, ont vu des soucoupes volantes, et c'était assez récurrent dans les informations locales. Je pense que Claude a voulu les rencontrer. Il m'a demandé si moi j'avais une idée de où il pouvait atterrir, et j'ai eu une vision de cet endroit qui se trouve donc entre le puits de la Vache et le puits de la Solace, qui me paraissait être un endroit idéal pour qu'il puisse venir nous voir, de manière à pouvoir être dans un endroit assez discret pour pouvoir nous observer avant de rentrer en contact avec nous.
Et après l'émission à télé, tu ne lui as pas demandé, Claude, peut-être que tu l'as pris trop loin?
Moi, je peux avoir une opinion là-dessus, sur la vérité des choses. Mais mon opinion ne représente rien. C'est que l'opinion d'une seule personne. Ce qui est important, c'est ce que les gens pensent. Après, je peux très bien dire que ça n'est pas vrai. Je peux le dire. Mais je n'ai aucune preuve pour le dire. Lui peut dire que c'est vrai. Il n'a aucune preuve pour le dire. Personne n'a de preuve pour dire que Jésus-Christ a réellement marché sur l'eau et fait la multiplication des pains. De la manière que c'est raconté dans la Bible, d'une manière à la manière d'un miracle.
J'avais la carte numéro 2 de l'association. Ma femme avait la carte numéro 3.
Patrick Dernier and his wife were among Rael's very first followers. But they left the movement right after Rael wrote his second book, Space Aliens Took Me to Their Planet.
Il parle de la réunion à laquelle il a assisté de tous les chefs religieux, de tous les chefs de toutes les religions. Et ça, c'est quelque chose qu'il a découvert chez nous, dans un hebdomadaire qui s'appelait Le Fluide Glacial, où il y avait toute l'histoire qu'il raconte. Mais sur le banquet des prophètes, il l'a découvert chez nous. Raël avait un grand besoin de notoriété. Il n'a jamais été un chanteur connu. Sa revue Autopop n'a pas eu non plus une grande notoriété ni une grande durée de vie. Il cherchait à se valoriser et puis à obtenir aussi quelques... Comment dire? Parce qu'en réalité, ce qui l'intéressait, c'est le côté sexuel. Voilà.
Après l'annonce du clonage, Raël avait lancé une demande aux responsables canadiens d'être capable d'accueillir 1000 personnes. Le clonage, ça va amener des milliers de personnes au mouvement. Pas du tout. Il n'y a jamais eu plus de personnes. Peut-être un petit soubresaut au début parce que ça en a ramené quelques-uns, mais rapidement, ça a cassé parce que les reportages CNN et d'autres grosses chaînes de télévision ont fouillé l'affaire pour se rendre compte qu'il n'y a jamais eu de bébé puis que c'était toute une histoire inventée, un canular.
These are claims that are so flagrantly scientifically false that no responsible scientist would ever make them. We are absolutely certain that it is very difficult to imagine successfully making a human clone. So, forgive me for not taking Professor Bosselier with no proof, no baby, and no real science at her word.
When you look back now, do you think it was it good for the movement? Was it good for yourself? Would you do it again?
As the communication director, I'm telling you, it was a success for the movement. We are here to carry a message that is not comfortable. The cloning message was one of the most uncomfortable, and somehow the fact that it was not proven make it even more uncomfortable for some. What is the positive of it is that we have been all over the world claiming that we have been created by scientists coming from another planet, which is the main message.
The Pleasure Hospital found itself in trouble. Only 25 women were operated on before the government revoked their license. The health minister said, medical organizations should be focused on saving lives, not advertising their religion in an attempt to convert vulnerable people.
There was a representative of the Catholic Church on the BBC radio yesterday who said that indeed they don't see us fit to do any kind of humanitarian work because of our being Raelian. That's just surgery, science. Who are they to give us lessons, And they have been the one, denying science and I mean.
C'est triste pour les femmes qui ne peuvent pas en profiter. 130 millions de femmes excisées et qui veulent se faire réparer.
I hope she filmed this one. When we got back from Burkina Faso, we were invited to Rael's 69th birthday party, which coincided nicely with the 40th anniversary of his trip to the planet of the extraterrestrials.
May I have the privilege to have you beside me?
You think he believes his story?
I don't know. I hope so. I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe his goal is not to make us believe in the aliens. It is not his goal. His goal is to have a family around him and make them happy. I don't know. Anyway, if the people stay around him, they must be happy. No?
one day you will come out and say, that's not really true. I made a nice story, because I don't know, I hate religions, or I grew up in like oppressive Catholic, and I just, it's like a joke got out of control.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your response?
I would still say thank you. My life would have never been the same without what you taught me. My life would never be the same. I probably wouldn't be a scientist today if I wasn't a Raelian. I feel like I'm a free person. I have no limitation. I have no barrier. I have no complex of inferiority because of my color or because I'm a woman. No. And all that, I've learned that here. I learned that thanks to his teachings. So how can I be upset?
True, false? I don't mind. Are you true or are you false? What are your intentions by interviewing me? What you gonna do with what I'm telling you? I don't know. Maybe you're gonna change everything I'm telling you to do something else. I don't know. But if you do, it's okay. It will be your truth. And I will just observe what you did without judging, and I will still love you. So, if one day Rael himself is telling me, it's all this is false, I invented that story, there's nothing true, I will thank him anyway.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mitchia. Happy birthday to you.
Is it good? I want to feel how I feel. Is it intimate and good? I think more, it's better if we are just you and me at same level and talking like friends, no?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing.
This is not.
Why?
Because this is more,
So how do we do that?
I don't know, you are the director. Would be better to share.
Yeah, more natural.
More natural. Yes. I try to be creative for you, but...
It was our last night in Okinawa, and Rael invited us to say goodbye. I'd been told that he is ill, and this might be the last time I would meet him. And if you can sit here... So
this side?
Yeah.
Like if you are...
You have the zipper open?
Merci. And you sit here beside me? Or?
I will sit here because I have to film, so I will be like I'm in front of you.
How do you like that?
This is good.
You don't ask any question?
It's better like if it's...
It's like a statement to end the movie?
Yes.
I think it's good if people watching this movie just for 1 second, people who are full of doubt and think, oh, this man is a liar, he invented all these things. If they could stop just a few seconds to say, what if it's true? That's just an exercise I want people to do. People who are full of hatred and judgment, just breathing 1 second and saying, let's just give myself 1 minute to think, what if it's true?
The contents, practices, emotions, experiences, beliefs that we call religion can be, I'm not going to say they always have to be, a very, very significant part of having a sense that life is rich, exciting, worthwhile. Thoreau said the mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. To me, it's the quiet that's more of a problem than the desperation. And by the time I die, I think I will feel I have lived a life, not just survived, not just made it through. That's what I would wish for every human being.
There are over 7,000 recognized religions. It is one of man's earliest and greatest inventions. Also, one of its deadliest, with millions of deaths caused by religious violence. If we could only remember that religion is man-made, invented to give meaning to our seemingly random, chaotic existence. Certainly not worth killing each other over. Maybe we could appreciate it like mankind's other great inventions: cartoons, Scrabble, or ice cream sundaes.
So today, joining me from Tel Aviv, Israel, is the screenwriter and director of The Prophet and the Space Aliens, Yoav Shamir. Yoav, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here.
When you found out that you were the only person that actually showed up to accept the award of becoming an honorary guide, did you feel like, oh, I just got suckered into this and they're playing me here?
It's only later on during the process of the filmmaking that I thought, I'm not sure about this kind of what's going on. Am I being manipulated? Am I manipulating them? The boundaries kept, a little bit blurring at a certain point, but that was much later on. It wasn't, at this stage, I was just kind of curious, You see this room with, 1,000 people clapping in my honor. It's kind of with documentaries, you have to be always kind of ready for everything in a way. I came with the camera, a small film crew, Tanya, the camerawoman, and myself. So we knew we were going to film actually Rael when we went there, but initially we thought it's going to be just kind of a little maybe something that we might use, we might not use. At that time, when I first met him, that was quite a long time ago, I think it was 2011, I wasn't kind of planning of doing this kind of full-on movie and all of that kind of things. So it was all kind of sort of accidental. I mean, the topic of religion is very interesting to me. And growing up in Israel, which is almost the ground zero of religions, because, so many prophets went through here. All of the biblical prophets and Jesus and Muhammad, and everyone was kind of passing through, and Israel is heavy influenced by religion. So for me, as a young man, as a young boy, I was always curious about these things. I didn't grow up in a religious home, so it wasn't part of my upbringing, but it was something that I was curious about. So when this opportunity came, it didn't take a long time for me to realize maybe this is, almost like my dream documentary.
But Rael seems like he's a very, very strategic and smart guy. He's got a plan, right? Was it calculated on his part to give this, documentary filmmaker this award in the hope that you would make a film about him to help spread his message?
I don't know if he's the type of guy that sees so many moves
ahead, you know? Like a chess player might see, like a real good chess player might see 12 moves ahead, right? Like the excellent ones.
Yeah.
I think Rael is more like of a backgammon player, you know? More of a kind of like, let's see what's going on, and let's kind of like maybe the luck will play with us. So I think whenever someone outside their movement is coming to recognize them even, they're happy. And because Rael had been bashed so many times in the media, especially in the French and Canadian media, he was like always like the villain, the bad guy, the crook, the cult leader, the crazy guy. He was, in a way, almost used to being treated with very little respect from journalists. And for me, whenever I make a film, it doesn't matter about whom, I will treat my subjects with respect. I'm really, really seriously interested in finding out what is their motivations. Also, this way, you get much more with people, you know, from people. They feel that you respect them. And I think for Rael, that was, at the beginning, it was enough, because he was so used to being treated badly by the media that when someone like me comes and just being nice to him, just not like making fun of him and mocking him, it will get you further.
You said that some people describe this as a mockumentary.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed this this comment. I had in some of the reviews people saying we thought it was a mockumentary, and then we went, you know, we Googled it, and we thought it's real. So I think it's funny. I think you have to be very. I mean, I like to think of myself as a talented filmmaker, but to make it as a documentary, I think I would have to be super talented. I don't think I'm that talented.
What do you think it was that happened to him that created this transformation from being a car journalist to a prophet and starting a cult?
The straight answer I'm going to get from Rael or anybody with his inner circle is that, you know the story. One day, December 73, he had this urge to go to this volcano. He met these extraterrestrials. You know, this is the official story.
Right.
So if I would go back to any prophets throughout history, I mean, there's always the official story, right? Jesus was resurrected. And Muhammad, you know, he took this horse from Jerusalem to Saudi Arabia. Moses, he talked to the burning bush and he met God, and, you know, and he gave him the 10 Commandments. There are always the official stories. These are the stories. How can you, like, I wasn't there to disprove it. Nobody was there. So, I mean, I can have my own assumptions. I mean, if you ask my opinion, in my opinion, I don't think he met the extraterrestrials. I think it's a made-up story. But, I mean, I also, this morning, I was like rowing on my paddleboard in the Sea of Galilee, exactly where Jesus was walking on the water. If you'll ask me if I think that Jesus walked on water, also, I don't think he walked on the water. That's my opinion.
But what were your first impressions when you arrived and you met these guys?
So actually, we came during nighttime. We came to this little resort in Slovenia, and they had this, what they called like this Arabian night theme. And you had all this kind of like half-naked women dancing around Rael, and he was sitting with his white outfit. And I remember I was telling Tanya, what the hell is going on? You know, this is a real cult. We're in like, what do they want from us? And it was all kind of like very strange because I was never in such kind of like environment. So it was interesting. Then morning comes, you know, and then as things happen often, you just start to see the people behind the image. And we got to know Rael and his followers. And then actually the trigger to make the film for us was after a day or so, they told us about this hospital they're about to open in Burkina Faso. A hospital that will reconstruct the clitoris of women who undergone FGM. And I thought, like, this is insane. So these guys, this hedonistic type of like make love sex cult, you know, as you know, at first I was referring to them because, you know, it was also for me a process of how do I deal with this group? What do I call them? So they're going to go into the poorest country in Africa, a Muslim country, and they're going to perform this surgery, which I thought was like a total scam because I never realized it was possible to reconstruct clitoris of a woman that had undergone the FGM. It was like this is too wild to be true. I think most Australians believe he met extraterrestrials. If they would to find out that he didn't meet them, how would that make them feel? You know, there we got some surprising answers.
In their heart of hearts, though, I wonder if they think, look, we know he didn't meet them, but it's okay.
For some people, I think it's very true. I think maybe other people have a tendency to believe, and they're more the believer types. You know, they would not question.
They'll take that leap of faith and just accept it.
Yeah, exactly. The leap of faith. Yeah. I like this term, the leap of faith, you know, because just think about it. It's a leap of faith. And in a way, the bigger the leap, the stronger the faith, right? It's almost this kind of like a pact that you're making between the leader and the followers. I'm going to tell you a crazy story. I ask you to make the leap of faith to believe me. Once we kind of like, we're over this stage, we're cool. You can benefit all of these beautiful things I have to offer, and you know, and there's this kind of like give and take relationship, but you need this leap of faith. So that's why, you know, I think this like we have a lot of like this type of like Tony Robbins.
Filled with grace, filled with gratitude, filled with appreciation for the life you already have.
There's a lot of like this type of people, right? They know something. A lot of the stuff they're telling you are very interesting, you know, for the people who go there. For me, I mean, okay, been there, done that, heard that, you know, like you didn't rock my world with this kind of like, with this talk. But for some people, you know,
it really works. You know,
it really works.
Yeah. I think a leap of faith is kind of essential for all religions in a way, right?
But if you look at them, like they're giving you a show. I mean, so this show uses a lot of stuff that maybe like prophets in the older times didn't have, you know, they didn't have this kind of like fireworks and going on the stage and giving the show and doing all this kind of like, I don't know, charisma and manipulation that all these self-performance guys use. In a way, the leap of faith is kind of like, it's almost, in a way, it's even a more fair way, because we are agreeing on something ridiculous. We're both going to agree on that. It's a structure. We're going to forget structure. You know, let's forget the set, right? You go into the movie, you know you're sitting and watching a movie, but you're still immersed in it, you engage in it. You paid, I don't know, $7, $10 to watch the movie, and then you want to get a story, you want to be told something, you want to have an experience. So in a way, it's similar. We love stories. I'm a storyteller, you're a storyteller, Rael is a storyteller, Jesus was a storyteller, Tony Robbins is a storyteller, because stories make sense. And, you know, they give us meaning and purpose, and we learn something about our lives. And in this pact between the leader and the follower, the leap of faith is kind of like, let's agree on a crazy story. And the crazier the story, the bigger the belief.
The bigger the leap.
The bigger the leap, yeah.
Would you go to the south of France, all right? A second-rate journalist,
right,
producing a magazine for car drivers, and give him a mission, all right? A non-educated man, and
Right.
give him a mission.
Yes.
Why?
Why 2,000 years before, you go in Palestine and you talk to a little man who was Jesus. It's the same plan.
Jesus is the Son of God, the second person of the Blessed Trinity.
That's your interpretation.
Who became man out of his own will.
Yes, that's your interpretation. There is not God, only extraterrestrial beings.
I love this interview. I think it's a great one, because he demands he demands us to treat Jesus in a totally different way. Why? I also ask why. Not that I believe Rael, but I think if they were both operating at the same time, I would be as skeptic about Jesus as I would be about Rael.
Yeah. So what did he think of the film? What did Rael think of the film?
I don't think it's the film he imagined, but he was okay with that. In a way, he was more gracious about it than some other characters that I made films about, which were not so gracious in their response about how they've been portrayed in my films. Because it's difficult, you know. people, when you film there, they're kind of like they are pawns in your own game, right? And people don't like it. They have a certain image of themselves, and then they're in a film, and this image is very different, maybe than what they thought about themselves, about how they imagine themselves, how they see themselves, how they would like the world to look at them. So in that sense, Rael was more generous, more gracious than many other people I filmed.
So how does your own experience, you spoke a little bit about it, but growing up in Israel where the three, big religions kind of converge, and growing up in that environment, how did that kind of inform you, your perspective coming into this?
So I always thought that people take religion maybe a little bit too seriously. That was kind of like my impression. And I look at it like almost like, and like some really terrible things are happening. I mean, when we were making the film, it was like the peak of ISIS, and people were like heads were chopped off. For me, I looked at it almost like a little bit as like a game that people made up.
How do you compare the Raelians to, traditional religions?
Really, I look at most of the religions and I study a lot of them. Like I read a lot. They're not that different. And then people are surprised. Wow, look, this kind of like scriptures from Judaism. In this kind of, it really reminds me of Buddhism, and you can find that also in the Quran. And people are surprised. For me, it's not surprising. It's all kind of like, as humans, we live. It's a very difficult thing to be a human being, right? You're born, you live your life, you ask yourself if you're an intelligent man, if you're a researcher, what is the goal? What is the game end? What's going on? Why am I here? Am I here to do this? Am I here to do that? We're looking. I think actually it's very comfortable to having like a spiritual guide, whether it's a rabbi, a priest, Rael, whatever, someone that you can kind of like trust, and you need sometimes this guidance from someone who kind of like claims he knows something more than you do, and sometimes they do. So it's nice to have a purpose. It's nice to have some kind of like direction.
These people seem to be getting something from it. They seemed happy, the followers of Raelism. And so what's wrong? If they are living peacefully, no one's being forced to do anything, and they're gaining something from it, well, that's great then.
Yeah, for those who remain in the movement and they remain religions, I think it's great. And some other people, because in the film also we're kind of like showing some people that are no longer aliens, and for them maybe they might feel, if they think that it's not for them, maybe they realize that Rael did not meet the extraterrestrials, and it is important to them.
Right.
Maybe they realize that like the Rael's angels, it's not a great thing. Maybe they become disillusioned at a certain point, and then they already been there. Like some of them 40 years, and they're 60, or maybe a little bit over 60, and they might feel very bad for wasting their lives. And we hear it. I mean, if in general, if you look at all these like cult films, there are many cult films. I don't think there's a month going by without any like new cult film or series coming out, and it's always like a formula. They're all the same. So people who used to be followers got disillusioned, and then, oh, how could I be so stupid? How could I let this man kind of like lead me on? And what's going on, and I was manipulated. So this is life, Sometimes you get like the bad job. Sometimes you choose the wrong wife. Sometimes your kids, they don't like you anymore. It's part of life. Life can't be always great. They wanted life to be great. That's why they joined the cult or religion or something. They wanted to have like a meaningful life. They wanted life to be more than it is. They wanted life to be spectacular.
Sure.
You have kids, and that's it. You kind of like fulfilled your duties to nature. The species remain. That's it. There's not much more than that. And for many people, it's very difficult to accept.
the other, films that have come out or TV shows about other cults, like the Nexium one that everyone's talking about and watching right now. In that, you see people that were hurt. You see people that were extremely disillusioned and saying, I did waste years of my life in that. In your film, there weren't that many characters that spoke to that at all. There was the original couple in France that were number 2 and 3, were like, oh, it's all bullshit because he got this from my comic book that was in my house, and the second book, it's all a fallacy. I didn't see that many people that seemed disillusioned for having been part of Rael's cult and religion. They seemed like pretty happy for the most part. Or did you come across a lot of people that were like, you know what, it was all a scam and he was just after our money? And
I was not looking for this angle. There are a lot of aspects which I find strange within the Raelian belief system. But, to their credit, what was confusing in a way was this kind of like this work they're doing in Burkina Faso. So if you're after money, if you're kind of like, and Rael many times been portrayed as someone who was kind of like doing it only for the money, you don't go to Burkina Faso and, for people who make, I don't know, like $1 a day or something like that. And I couldn't find anything wrong with the hospital, I think it's you have to be very cynical to kind of like to look at this hospital and thinking it's a scam, they're doing it like for the wrong reasons or something like that. Especially when dealing with cult, it's easier to live in a world of black and whites. Even in the more notorious cults, right, which we kind of like we expose them. I'm sure that a lot of these people, if you kind of like ask them, they benefited a lot. They had a sense of community. They really lived life for a while. Yeah, and then they found out it was wrong. I thought at first, when I met Rael, I thought it was kind of like almost like an art installation that he's doing. It was a joke, an anti-religious joke. I'm going to come up with the most absurd story, and about this guy that is, been taken to the planet of the extraterrestrials, and the title of the book, like his second book, Space Aliens Took Me to Their Planet.
Right.
It almost sounds like something from a comic book or something.
Right.
And then my kind of like interpretation was, okay, this guy grew up in this like very oppressive Catholic home environment. He hated it. He hated how he was maybe treated as the boy growing up in a Catholic school, and maybe that was his revenge. So I'm going to make some kind of like crazy story, fantastic story. And then let's see what happens. I think, for me, this was my interpretation. I don't think that anymore. Maybe it was, it's really difficult also. It's a young man, it's an adventurous guy, a clever guy. I don't think he had like a master plan. I don't think he thought, okay, 10 years from now, I'm going to have 10,000 followers, and 40 years from now, I'm going to have 100,000 followers. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And actually, I don't think that any religious leaders start off like that. I don't think there is kind of like any prophet in history that from day one had like a master plan and he knew where he was going. And I think it's true for any prophet, any religious leader, any cult leader, whatever. I think these things just happen. And then you kind of like, you see how far can you take it.
Right. So you think it was more of an organic thing that just happened. He had this kind of fantastical idea and it took off. And then he's like, you know what? This is fun. People are giving me money and I'm having lots of sex with all these different women. Like, this is like, what's wrong with this, right? And he just went with it.
I ask Ray, whenever people talk, people want to know about sex and money, right? So
right.
I think it's also something that changes throughout the years, So maybe money and sex were important at certain points and they became less important, later on. If you look at at people like him, even like this Nexium documentary you mentioned.
Yeah.
So these guys mostly they have a shorter span of life. Well, he's there for 45 years. It's a long career as a prophet. A lot can happen. He's almost like a retired prophet, as he says now.
Right. What happens after he dies? Who's gonna take take it over? Who's going to be the, the apostle or the leader of the movement after he dies?
Very difficult to predict. After Ron Hubbard died, it was very difficult to assess if the Scientologists were going to carry on. It took Christianity 300 years after Jesus died to get things really rolling. My personal assessment, they're going to disappear. I don't think they're going to outlive it. And especially because of this very good thing about the Raelians, that they don't kind of nurture the next generation.
Right.
There are no Raelians, there's no education system. So I think it's very difficult to establish a big religion without, having school systems.
Was there a dark side?
There are, and it's also kind of being portrayed in the film. There are elements which are dubious, if you want to call it, or I don't know, whatever, questionable. So there's this order of angels. There is, Rael, basically having this position of someone who's very powerful, very influential. People follow him. It's a lot of responsibility. I can't say that I know 100% of everything that is going on.
Right.
Maybe there are some things that I'm not aware of. Maybe there are some secrets. He likes to control. He likes to manipulate. He likes to kind of to be in charge of things. The most difficult thing for me throughout the filmmaking, because I was also coming to this topic with preconceived notions. Cults are bad. They're out to exploit people. It's all about manipulation. They're after sex and money. And so for me, that was, it took me a long time to get over that, even in the editing room. In a similar way, filmmakers are very much like cult leaders because we are kind of like the masters of manipulations. I can make Rael look good. I can make him look bad. I can make him look likable. I have this capacity. And we tried different versions in this film. And we had versions where, we started off with Rael kind of not being likable, and it didn't work so well. And then I thought, okay, let's let's do it maybe a little bit differently. It almost, I had some sleepless night when I thought, okay, I should bash him. I should how can I make a cult film without kind of making him look like the villain, or where is the dark secrets? What kind of dark secrets are hiding out there? So it took me a long time also as a filmmaker to kind of almost to get over it.
My girlfriend was an angel once. She left. No one tried to keep her inside of the order, and she came back and she was welcome. So to me, it's just another way to grow. Just another way to grow.
And is that true? People can just leave when they want, come back, nothing's stopping them. They have that freedom?
As far as I know, yes. We talked to many Raelians, to many women, and they could switch between being a white angle and the pink angle. And I think they can even do it the same day. They can decide in the morning to be white and in the evening to go pink and vice versa. So it's kind of it's quite fluid, And I get it's very tempting to look for this kind of the more notorious aspects of it. And then it kind of got me thinking about religions in general, because we accept the big religions, the monotheistic religions, what we call the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. So these religions, they're actually when you think about them, they're like corporations. They want everybody to belong, to think like them. They're like the Walmart of religions. There's something more liberal, I think, in having a lot of small sects, cults, religions, movements, whatever you want to call them. rather than having this kind of like one big religion that wants to control the world, right? I talked to this French specialist of an institution of like to studying cults, and I told them, listen, if you're going to look at Judaism checklist, all of these things that you're looking at cults, Judaism is a cult. I mean, there are very little toleration for gay people, we're supposed to stone them, and, all this kind of like, but Judaism, it's acceptable because it's been there long enough, so people take it. While cults, they're new. And also, what's going on with cults is that kind of like a lot of religious people find them very threatening because it makes them question their own beliefs. I mean, we talk about it in the film, like how come it's easier for people, even for myself, to accept the story of the parting of the Red Sea or this kind of like biblical stories. So for me, it's the same.
With infinity, we are one. With eternity, we are one with the sky. We are one with the stars. We are one with the ocean. And every animal.
I think it's a very catchy song that he's singing, but it's like a nursery rhyme for, that my 3-year-old son would sing at school. You think about it, you're like, well, what's wrong with what he's saying? If you take out the aliens and the spaceships and that, it's just like good vibes, preaching harmony and peace, right? That's what I was taking from it. It's very easy to demonize it because it's a cult and it doesn't fit with our kind of traditions and, the main 3 religions. And you're right. There's so many miracles that are talked about in all the religions. And you're like, really? Did that really happen? But we accept it. On the subject of demonizing smaller, religions and cults, how do you feel about the label of cult? Because we use it all the time. Is it derogatory?
For me, it is, because I grew up with this, it's hard to kind of like, there are words which, culturally, we kind of like accept them to signify something which maybe they shouldn't. And I talked a lot about Rael, about this word, cult, sect. How does it feel about it? And, for him, it's not a big deal. I was very surprised to hear the professor saying the same thing.
Cult is a misuse of language. For me, as for scholars, cult means avodat bet hamikdash. That's cult, and I don't like distinctions between cults and religions.
It's kind of like ancient Hebrew for doing some work in the temple. I didn't know that actually. It was new to me. We like these stories, like it's easy to have this kind of like black and white stories. It's easy to portray someone as bad and someone as good. And it's very convenient. And a lot of the time, as filmmakers, we are lazy. And it's just more convenient for us to kind of like to have this kind of like anchor point and just like stick to it and kind of like get rid of all the grays, right? I love human weaknesses. I find it gorgeous. I think it's like nothing life. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think for me, it's one of like it's my favorite TV series because, all these like small weaknesses, which are charming, which we all have them.
See what's going on over here?
No. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize.
She's doing a chat and cut.
Hey,
There she goes. Yeah. Excuse me. Hi. First of all, congratulations on a great attempt at a chat and cut. Really good. 99 times out of 100, that's going to work.
So you can find like the bad in good people if you look for it. You can find the good in like bad people. I just enjoy searching and not being lazy and kind of like making my life easy with kind of like just like sticking to a label and sticking to a theme, because I know that life is so much more complicated than this. There have been very negative films. You're coming from Montreal. I'm sure you've seen plenty of really bad reports about Rael and the Iranians.
Yeah.
Maybe you made some.
No, never really made anybody. We wrote articles about it over the years.
Yeah.
In the magazine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also
So-
did a great fashion story about Raelian fashion, which I think was just like really positive and cool, you know? So there's been
Yeah,
some
but
positive stuff too.
I'm not saying Rael is a saint. You know, I'm not Raelian. I don't think people should finish the film and go and convert and become Raelians. You know, that's like totally, not the point of this film. It's just kind of like an attempt to make people look differently at a certain given situation. That's all. And there are people that you will talk to or that you have a chance to discuss things which are not Raelians, like that have an outsider look? You have someone like that in your surrounding?
No. Not really, no. And I don't wish to.
Because maybe someone from the outside, they have different understanding, different perception.
Yes, but I don't see the point. What for?
Any tropes that you were trying to avoid while making this film? Things that people do when making films that would separate your film from what's out there?
From very early on, it wasn't set up to be an expose film. It wasn't my goal to get to the incredible fact that Rael did not meet the extraterrestrials. That was not my goal. It wasn't kind of like one of the goals of me as a filmmaker. I was kind of like just trying to see it a little bit from a broader, a more philosophical approach. Can there be a religion, a new religion being born in our lifetime? I think that the last big religion, if you want to call it big, are the Mormons, which have a great scene in our film.
You will read? And if you read, I read.
One specific promise.
Which one? That I will read the special page?
Read this.
Oui.
Beginning. This first paragraph.
I will read the poem.
But then I want you to do something. You pray.
No, we don't pray.
Will you pray?
No.
You won't pray?
We don't pray.
If you...
We meditate. It's different, but it's kind of prayer. We meditate for peace in the world, which is very important. And peace and love taught me the God.
So I think this is maybe the last kind of big religion. I try to avoid being hypocritic. I try to avoid being self-righteous. I didn't feel like ridiculing them, as a documentary filmmaker, kind of my motto is, even when I want to expose someone, I would give them a long enough rope for them to hang themselves. That's my style.
So I guess the last question is, in making this film, did it change any of your own views towards religion?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I look at the whole kind of cult versus religions very differently. I don't think all cults are bad. I don't think all religions are bad. I think eventually, there are great things that came out of almost any religion out there, even the most notorious ones, even the cults. I'm sure even these people in some of these kind of documentaries we talked about, they benefited quite a lot from being part of it. I mean, it's easy to say someone who's in a religion or a cult now, maybe they're kind of in it, so they don't have this kind of maybe outer view, more reflexive view. But even people who are being part of it, if you ask them, any cult, any religion, there are also some things they learned. They've been part of something. They rock the boat a little bit, And I really like it when the Professor Boyar, when he says, he refers to Thoreau, saying, I don't want to live a quiet, desperate life.
Thoreau said the mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. To me, it's the quiet that's more of a problem than the desperation. And by the time I die, I think I will feel I have lived a life, not just survived, you know, not just made it through. That's what I would wish for every human being.
And he's saying, I was more troubled by the quiet than the desperate. So, I mean, religions, cults, you know, they give you an opportunity to experience life on another level. Sometimes I wish I had this ability to be a follower, to really immerse myself in something, a cult, a religion, a group, something like that. My religion is filmmaking. You know, I take it seriously. I enjoy it. You know, it's my passion. I find my voice there. I find the meaning in it, in doing it. So maybe if I was doing something else, maybe more mundane, more boring line of work, maybe I would need this type of spirituality. I would need to belong to a certain group. So I value it, you know. I sometimes I envy people in this type of groups. Sometimes I feel sorry for them. It's kind of like mixed emotions. Yeah, so I mean, I got a lot out of this film. And if my daughter would tell me I'm going to join a cult, I'm not going to be happy. But also, if she's going to be telling me I'm going to become religious, I'm also not going to be happy.
Do you believe in God?
No.
I think it's just interesting. There are so many like films and documentaries that have come out about cults, and there's so many cults that exist right now. I think there is a vacuum out there in the world, and people fill it with, you know, God and religion and other things. And I found your answer to be really refreshing, because it's not what you'd expect. Like, oh, a filmmaker in Israel to say, actually, you know, my religion is filmmaking. It's what gives me purpose and direction. Thank you for making this film, Yoav.
Thank you. It was like great talking to you.